There was no screaming, no slammed doors, no broken dishes, no dramatic confession with tears and mascara stains. There was just a closet, hers, half empty, hangers swinging slightly like they'd just been touched. And on the floor, a crumpled Nordstrom receipt, dated 2 days ago. One silk dress, one men's cologne. Not my size. That's when I knew. I didn't make a sound. Just stood there, staring at the numbers on that receipt like they were coordinates to some battlefield I hadn't agreed to fight on. It wasn't like I hadn't suspected something. There were signs. Not the classic ones, though. No lipstick smears, no perfume I didn't recognize, no midnight giggles in the hallway. No, Lila was too smart for that. She didn't cheat loud. She cheated quietly, with subtle withdrawals. Shorter sentences, longer showers, more work trips that didn't show up on the joint calendar we pretended to still use. She even started triple washing her coffee mug like she was hiding fingerprints. I didn't confront her. Instead, I did something she never expected from me, something she said I'd never have the guts to do. I left. Not just the room, not just the house. Everything. No fight, no note, no dramatic exit speech. By sunrise, I was gone. She got the house. She got the car. She got the couch she never let me pick. I even left my wedding band on the bathroom counter next to the eucalyptus candle she bought to reset the energy. I took only what was mine, my wallet, one backpack, and the feeling that I was finally done being a ghost in my own life. But before I walked out the door, I did leave one thing behind. I logged into our shared desktop. I changed the screensaver. And when she came back, this is what she saw glowing across the monitor in big white text. Check the closet. You forgot your receipt. The weirdest part about leaving your whole life behind isn't the silence. It's the weight that disappears. Like grief in reverse. Like you didn't realize how heavy it was to be wanted only for your stability until you finally walked out the door and no one chased after you. The morning I left, the sky was still black. I didn't even pack properly, just shoved whatever wasn't folded in her drawers into my backpack. My passport. My backup credit card. A hoodie I hadn't worn in years, but kept because it still smelled like autumn and college and everything I used to be before I became the guy who always remembered to take the trash out. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from something worse. Rage I didn't have the courage to show her. That rage didn't boil over. It crystallized, turned into something quiet, dangerous, unforgiving. The kind of feeling that makes you smile when you cancel the utilities in your name or shut down the Spotify account you'd been paying for that she used to play music while texting other men. I thought I'd feel guilty. I didn't. I sat in my car across the street just to see how long it would take her to notice. I waited 4 hours. She never even turned the porch light on. Didn't step outside. Didn't call me. Not once. As if my absence wasn't even a wrinkle in her plans. As if I'd finally done the one thing she'd secretly been hoping I would do, disappear. I drove for 11 hours straight with no idea where I was going. I ate gas station peanuts. Slept at a rest stop next to a family in a minivan. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even play music. Just drove in silence, chewing on the fact that I had become invisible long before I ever packed my bag. But here's where things stopped being simple. 3 days after I vanished, I got a call from her sister. Camille. I hadn't told anyone. Not a soul. And Camille wasn't exactly warm to me over the years. She once told me I was too soft for Lila. That my idea of romance was something out of a 90s greeting card. But she didn't call to scold me. She called to ask if I was safe. Said Lila had been telling everyone I abandoned her, that I'd gone off my meds. I don't even take any. And that I'd taken valuables with me. Claimed I drained the emergency fund. That I was having some kind of midlife meltdown. I almost laughed. That woman used to forget her purse 3 times a week, but somehow she had the clarity to draft a narrative about my mental breakdown before I even crossed the state line. But Camille didn't sound convinced. In fact, her tone shifted midway through the call. She asked me something strange. Did you see the package? I said, what package? Silence. Then she said, forget it, and hung up. That night, I checked our home security app, the one Lila never bothered to change the password for. There, on the footage from the night before I left, was Lila standing outside in her robe, barefoot, smoking a cigarette, even though she swore to me for years that she quit. She had her phone to her ear. And then a man pulled into our driveway in a black SUV. Not a delivery guy. Not a neighbor. Not anyone I recognized. She got in. They didn't talk. They kissed. Right there. In our driveway. 5 feet from the porch we built together. And as the car drove off, I noticed something. She left the front door wide open. Like she knew she wasn't coming back that night. Like she didn't care who saw. Like I didn't exist anymore. For a long time, I told myself the worst thing a person could do was lie to you while looking you dead in the eyes. But now I think there's something worse. It's when they want you to find out. When they invite the collapse. Like they're bored of pretending and finally ready to throw the grenade. Just so they can watch what kind of face you make when it goes off. That's how it felt, watching the security footage of Lila getting into that car. She didn't sneak. She didn't tiptoe. She strutted out like she was walking into a spa appointment. I could practically hear the click of her heels echo through the driveway, even though she was barefoot. She wasn't afraid of being caught. Because she wanted me to see it. Because deep down, she knew I would. And she wanted it to hurt. I was at a rundown motel off I-74 when I watched that footage. The kind of place that smells like burned coffee and old carpet glue. I didn't even turn the lights on. Just sat on the edge of the bed with my laptop glowing in my face, listening to the sound of my own breathing. Watching the woman I gave a decade to press her lips against someone else's neck. Right where mine used to go. And that's when I remembered what Camille said. The package. I logged into our Amazon account. Nothing strange there. But Lila doesn't use Amazon much. She's one of those support small businesses types. So I checked the email link to our old joint inbox. It was practically dead, except for some boring newsletters and spam. Then, buried in the promotions tab, I saw it. Order confirmed. Crimson Embers lingerie set, final sale. I don't know what hit harder, the fact that she bought it 2 weeks before she stopped wearing anything to bed around me, or the fact that it was labeled final sale, like the universe itself wanted to make a joke about what was happening to our marriage. But it didn't stop there. I saw another notification. This one from a cloud storage account I forgot even existed, one she used during her college years to save design projects. And for some reason, the subject line said, Sync complete, 17 new uploads. I clicked it. There were videos. No descriptions. No thumbnails. Just bland file names like img_4481, MOV, clip 05, MP4, DSCF 0032, and my hand hovered over the mouse. I didn't open them. I couldn't. I stared at the screen for a long time, nausea crawling up my throat like something alive. I didn't need to see what was on them. I knew. My body knew. That feeling you get in your gut before a car crash or just after someone says, we need to talk. I closed the laptop. I walked outside, sat on the curb under a flickering motel light, and I cried. Not loud, not messy, just this quiet, miserable leaking of everything I'd been holding in. The kind that makes your chest feel like it's caving in, like your ribs aren't enough to hold your heart together anymore. That was the first time I thought, really thought, about disappearing. Not ghosting. Not a dramatic vanishing act. But erasing myself. Slipping out of my own life so cleanly that there wouldn't be a trail to follow. No cards. No text. No, I'll explain later. Just a man-sized hole where I used to be. But before I could figure out how to disappear properly, something else happened. Lila finally reached out. Not a call. Not even a real message. She tagged me in a photo. On Instagram. A photo of her and her co-workers at a wine tasting event. All dressed up. Laughter frozen mid-frame. Glass in hand. And right behind her, barely noticeable unless you knew what to look for, was the same man from the SUV. Ash. He had his hand on her lower back. She captioned it. Nothing better than good company and good wineglass sparkles #grateful. Grateful. She used the word grateful as I lay in a motel eating stale trail mix, trying to remember how it felt to be someone's person. That was the moment I knew. She wasn't looking for me. She wasn't sorry. She was relieved. And I hadn't even started getting even yet. I wasn't planning on revenge. I know that sounds strange. You'd think after being publicly humiliated, emotionally gutted, and quietly replaced like a piece of expired furniture, I'd want to destroy her. But the truth is, I just wanted to disappear. I didn't need her to suffer. I just wanted her to wonder. Wonder where I went. Wonder why the door creaked differently. Wonder why her keys didn't work anymore. If I'd been the one who changed the locks, or if the house itself had rejected her. But then, 3 days after she posted that smug Instagram photo, something changed. It started when I logged back into our smart home system. The same one I'd set up years ago, so she could preheat the oven or turn on the porch lights with her phone. I hadn't touched it since I left, but I was curious. Maybe I wanted to know if she'd noticed I was gone, if she'd panicked, or at least opened a closet and whispered my name under her breath. She hadn't, but she had turned off the living room cameras. At first, I assumed it was just to save bandwidth. But then I saw something strange. The thermostat had been raised to 81 degrees for almost 5 hours that Wednesday. That might not sound like much, but Lila hates heat. She gets migraines. She used to scold me for keeping the car warm in winter. So what was she doing in a sweatbox of her own making? The answer came from a neighbor. Not one I expected. Mr. Daly, 74, retired postman, lives 2 doors down. He called me that afternoon from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, Kenny," he said, his voice trembling with some combination of age and hesitation. I don't want to meddle, but I saw something I figured you'd want to know." I told him I was no longer in town. He already knew. "Your garage door opened Tuesday night. Late. Some guy parked a U-Haul outside. They were carrying out a lot of stuff. Paintings. Your tools. A bicycle, I think." I asked, "Did you see her?" He hesitated. "I saw her smoking again. In a silk robe. Same as last time." I didn't get angry. I thanked him. I hung up. And then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of course she was clearing out the garage. She never cared about that space when I lived there. Called it your cave, said it smelled like glue and regret. But now that I was gone, it was valuable real estate. A place she could fill with whatever version of herself she wanted next. The laughter didn't last. That night, I did something stupid. I went back. Not to confront her. Not to break in. I just parked a block away, waited until the street was dark and silent, and walked up to the edge of the yard like a ghost, just to see if the motion light still worked. It did, and that's when I noticed the side window was open. It had always stuck a little. She never remembered to latch it. I used to tease her about it. The one thing keeping us from getting robbed is that burglars have better taste. Now I stood there, on the edge of my old life, staring into the glowing interior of what used to be my home. There were candles lit, music playing softly, plates in the sink, and in the middle of the kitchen counter, surrounded by wine glasses and an open bottle of red, was a folded piece of paper. I knew it wasn't for me, but I climbed through the window anyway, heart pounding, pulse in my ears. Every step on the tile floor felt like a drumbeat in a courtroom. I walked across the kitchen like I was moving through a dream I didn't want to have. The note was short. "He's never coming back." And honestly, good. That was it. No name. No date. Just 9 words written in her handwriting, on my old sketch pad, the one I used to doodle in while waiting for pasta to boil. I don't know if it was meant for someone else. Maybe Ash. Maybe herself. Maybe the universe. But reading those words shattered whatever restraint I had left. I didn't take anything. I didn't break anything. But I did sit down at the table, uncork the wine she hadn't finished, pour myself a glass, and drink every last drop in total silence. My glass. My chair. My air. Then I left the empty bottle on her pillow with a sticky note. "You were right. I'm never coming back." She wanted closure? Now she had it. Or so I thought. I disappeared for real the next morning. No more backstreet watching. No more checking cameras or logins or invoices. I turned off location on every device. Canceled the backup Gmail I hadn't even remembered she had access to. Tossed the SIM card into a river while crossing a rusty bridge near the Indiana-Kentucky line. The whole thing felt like something out of a cheap movie, but for the first time in years, I wasn't pretending. I stayed in motels for a while, hopping counties like I was dodging something worse than heartbreak. Something radioactive. My only rule was simple. Never sleep 2 nights in the same zip code. I started growing a beard, even though I hate how itchy it gets. Changed how I walked. Drove slower. Talked less. I didn't know what I was looking for. Peace. Closure? A version of myself that hadn't been slowly ground down into someone she could easily replace? But I wasn't even gone a full week when she found a way to reach me. It was a Tuesday, late afternoon. I was at a greasy spoon diner on the edge of a town that probably hadn't updated its population sign since 1982. I was halfway through a cold grilled cheese when my burner phone, yes, an actual burner phone, $35 from a pharmacy in a place that smelled like moldy candy, buzzed. Unknown number. I shouldn't have answered. I know that. But something in me cracked. Maybe I was curious. Maybe I thought she'd apologize. Maybe I wanted her to sound desperate, so I could hang up without saying a word and let the silence hurt more than any comeback ever could. But it wasn't her voice. It was a man. Kenny, right? That's all he said. I froze. Said nothing. Just listened. He waited a beat, then added, "You don't know me, but I think we've both been played." Click. That was it. One call. No explanation. No number to call back. And just like that, I wasn't floating anymore. I was sinking again, dragged straight back into the gravity of a life I thought I'd burned down. For the next 2 hours, I paced the parking lot behind the diner, running every possibility through my head. Was it Ash? Some other guy she was seeing? Someone from work? Her boss? Had she been stringing along more than just me? I felt sick. Later that night, the motel clerk slipped something under my door. Said a woman had called the front desk, claiming to be my sister. Told them it was urgent. Left a message. It was a napkin, scrawled in blue ink. "They're not who you think they are." That was it. No name. No handwriting I recognized. But the part that scared me wasn't what was written. It was the way it was folded. 3 folds. Bottom corner tucked in. Exactly how I used to fold notes to Lila when we were first dating. Which meant someone had either found those notes or watched us back then. I barely slept. In the morning, I drove to the nearest public library and logged into a computer I knew would wipe itself every night. I checked Lila's socials. Her Facebook was still public. And there, smiling like a woman who'd just gotten away with murder, was Lila posing with a man I'd never seen before. Different from Ash. This guy looked older. Sharper. Expensive watch, firm jawline, that kind of smug posture that screams legal power. The caption? "Big things coming, Blackheart." But here's the part that made my blood run cold. The location tag said Chicago, and our mortgage account, the one I still had alerts for because I was stupid and forgot to turn them off, had just been closed. Sold. Gone. She sold the house. My name was still on it. I hadn't signed a single document. And yet, the paper trail said, "Joint authorization granted." That's when it hit me. She forged my signature. And whoever this new guy was, he wasn't just another affair. He was a partner. Not romantic, strategic. And suddenly I realized, this wasn't about a woman getting bored of her marriage. This was a setup. And I'd walked out right on cue. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a little. I lay on the stiff motel mattress, the sheets still warm from the sun seeping through the thin curtains earlier, and just stared at the ceiling as it cracked and blistered in the pale light from the parking lot. My chest felt like it was being held shut with wire. Tight, sharp, suffocating. And all I could think was, how far ahead did she plan this? I thought I'd caught her in the act, that I'd disappeared as a response. But I hadn't responded at all. I'd walked right into her design, like a chess piece that thought it was moving freely when really it had been boxed in 5 moves ago. The next morning, I drove to a library an hour away and used their printer to pull up every financial account we'd ever shared. Bank, mortgage, credit cards, car loans, health insurance. Even that ridiculous online wedding registry that we never deleted and still listed crystal fondue set as a pending item. And there it was. 2 months before she stopped kissing me goodnight. 3 months before the receipt in the closet. For months before I even thought something was wrong. She'd filed a name change request on our joint mortgage account. She used an old P.O. box from her college town. Claimed I'd moved internationally and gave some vague note about expedited approval due to spousal relocation. She forged my signature, and I'd been too numb, too trusting, too in love to ever notice. But the real gut punch was the notarized letter, uploaded as a scan. It was a statement, supposedly signed by me, saying I was transferring full control of the home and its associated financial responsibilities to Lila Monroe and had no further claim, interest, or future expectation of shared ownership. It even had a fake notary stamp. Like she'd downloaded a PDF template from some sketchy corner of the internet and slapped it on just convincing enough to slip past sleepy-eyed account reps at the bank. And it had worked. The house was gone. My name was erased. And Lila? She wasn't just done with me. She was profiting from it. I sat there, gripping the papers so hard my knuckles cracked, and for a moment, I think I genuinely forgot how to breathe. The computer monitor in front of me kept dimming, and I kept jabbing the spacebar like I was trying to slap the betrayal out of the screen. But then, something clicked. I remembered Camille. Her odd call. Her weird warning. Her aborted sentence about the package. And suddenly I wasn't just angry anymore. I was awake. I dialed her number. No answer. I called again. straight to voicemail. By the third try, the line picked up. But it wasn't her. A man answered. Deep voice. Calm. Dangerous in the quiet way. Hello. I paused. Camille. No. She can't come to the phone right now. Who is this? Silence. Then he said, someone who's been watching the same storm you just woke up in. Before I could respond, he hung up. I stared at the screen, numb. And then, less than a minute later, my burner phone buzzed. A single text. No number. No ID. She's not working alone. She never was. I didn't understand. What did that even mean? Was it about the guy in the photo? The fake notary? Ash. Or was this deeper? Something clicked again. A memory I had buried under months of pain. For months ago, Lila started talking about therapy. Not for us, for herself. Said she wanted to reclaim her independence. Said her new therapist helped her see things differently. She started saying phrases that didn't sound like her. Phrases like emotional labor and narcissistic saturation thresholds. Stuff I'd never heard her say in 10 years of marriage. And then, she suddenly didn't need therapy anymore. Stopped going. Claimed she'd outgrown the process. What if the therapist never existed? What if those sessions were meetings? Or planning? What if everything I thought was unraveling on its own was being carefully, precisely engineered? I felt like I was falling down a staircase in slow motion. Every step was a new betrayal I hadn't realized was real. Every thud a new layer of lies peeling back. But the worst part? I still missed her. I still woke up hoping for a text. For a sign. For some version of her to come back that would make all of this make sense. Or at least allow me to pretend it never happened. But that version of her didn't exist. And the Lila that did exist? She had just filed a legal cease and desist against my name, claiming I was impersonating myself. Yes, you read that right. According to the documents filed with a legal service in Illinois, Kenneth D. Monroe is unlawfully representing himself as a former spouse of Lila B. Monroe with no substantiated proof of identity or shared residence history. She'd gone full scorched earth. She wasn't just done with me. She wanted to erase me completely. And if I didn't stop her, she'd succeed. I didn't think anything could surprise me anymore. After everything I'd discovered, the forged documents, the burner messages, the disappearing house, and the legal smear campaign, I thought I had finally hit the end of her betrayal. But I was wrong. What I thought was about us had never been about us at all. It wasn't until I got a call from a block number at 1:27 a.m. that thing started to shift. I was staying in a rental cabin deep in Kentucky, a place so remote you couldn't even get decent Wi-Fi unless the wind was blowing the right way. I had just finished eating dinner from a dented can when the phone buzzed. I answered, expecting another cryptic warning or maybe silence. Instead, I heard a woman's voice. Not Lila, not Camille, someone older, firm, controlled, like she was used to being listened to. Kenneth, you don't know me, but I know about Lila. You need to listen very carefully. I froze. Who is this? Her name wasn't always Lila. You know that, don't you? Silence. I'm not going to tell you what to do, she said. But if you value your life and what's left of your identity, you'll stop looking at her as a wife who betrayed you. That woman didn't just erase you. She's been doing this for years. You're not her first. You just lasted the longest. I couldn't speak. My throat locked up. I'd felt insane for weeks, paranoid, spiraling. But hearing someone else say it, out loud, with certainty, it shattered me. The woman continued. Check the name registry in Arizona. Phoenix. Look for Melissa Brandt. Start there. Then follow the court filings from 2014. You'll find the others. I asked her who she was. The line went dead. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I drove to a public records office in the nearest town. I gave the name. And the clerk, a man in his 60s with reading glasses held together by duct tape, scrolled through the system, squinting, until he paused. Then he printed something out and handed it to me. It was a marriage certificate. Melissa Brandt, age 24, married to a man named Clive Renner. A name I didn't recognize. But here's what made my stomach turn. The witness signature on the bottom? Camille B. Holloway, Lila's sister. I couldn't breathe. I asked the clerk to search for court records tied to that name. He printed out a sealed custody case and a criminal complaint involving financial fraud. Then he looked at me with a wary expression and said, You sure you want to keep reading this? I nodded. The documents were messy, incomplete, but the picture was clear. Melissa Brandt had married Clive Renner in 2014, filed for divorce less than 2 years later. Clive had sued for embezzlement, claiming Melissa had drained over $140,000 from a shared business fund and forged his name on investment transfers. Case was dropped. Settlement was sealed. She vanished 6 months later. Then 2 years later, Lila Monroe showed up in Indiana with a new degree, a fresh work history, and Camille already living nearby, as if none of it had ever happened. It wasn't just betrayal. It was reinvention. I was just the next chapter in her survival story. And the man from the SUV? The one from the camera footage? I recognized him now. He was in one of the public court records. Clive Renner's former business partner. Lila wasn't sleeping with him. She was paying him. Or maybe they were paying her. I went back to the library and opened my laptop. New email. No sender. No subject. Just a single PDF attachment. It was a scan of my driver's license. But not the one I carry. This one had a different address. A different expiration date. Slightly altered photo. Same name. Same face. My identity, duplicated. Someone had created a version of me that wasn't me. And they were using it. That's when I realized. This wasn't just about a cheating wife. It never was. I had been part of a long con. A setup. A disposable identity used to validate a life that never existed in the first place. And now, that identity was being rewritten without me. I didn't just lose a house. Or a marriage. Or a life. I was losing myself. It was overcast the day she found me. The kind of sky that looks like it can't decide whether to rain or just hang low and heavy until the air feels like regret. I was living in a small cabin by a lake in Tennessee, under a different name, using cash, working odd jobs fixing boats, and painting old shutters for retirees who never asked questions. It was the first time I'd felt still in months. Not peaceful, not yet, but still, like the shaking had finally stopped. I was sweeping pine needles off the deck when I heard the car. Black. Clean. Parked at the edge of the gravel drive like it didn't want to be seen. I didn't move. I knew who it was the moment the door opened. Lila. Or whoever she was now. She wore sunglasses. No makeup. Her posture was different. Less predator, more exhausted traveler. She walked slowly, like she didn't know if I'd run. Or fight. Or scream. I didn't do any of those things. I just leaned on the railing and said, "I figured you'd come eventually." She smiled. Not cruelly, not confidently. Just sad. "Can I talk to you?" she asked. I didn't answer. She took it as a yes. She sat across from me on the deck, took off her sunglasses, and for a long moment, neither of us said anything. The wind carried the smell of damp leaves and something almost like peace. Finally, she said, "You weren't supposed to be real." I stared at her. "What?" She looked down. "That's the thing. You were just supposed to be safe. Predictable. Quiet. A way to reset. After everything." "You mean after Clive? After the identity theft?" Her eyes didn't widen. No denial. No gasping. Just a soft, tired nod. "I thought I could live right this time," she said. "Thought if I picked someone decent, someone kind, I could rebuild without hurting anyone. But then I got bored. And I panicked. And when the money ran low, I made deals again." She looked up at me, and I saw something I hadn't expected. Guilt. Real guilt. "I destroyed you," she said. "And I know saying sorry won't fix it. But I needed to look you in the eye and admit it. You didn't deserve what I did. You were good." I should have screamed. Should have told her to leave. Called the cops. Taken a picture. Recorded her confession. Done something. Instead, I just asked, "Why now?" She looked out at the lake. "Because I've been found," she said. "And I didn't want you to be the one they came after." That was the moment it hit me. She hadn't come to finish what she started. She came to protect me. From the people she'd gotten involved with. From the mess she'd built. From her past. She reached into her bag and handed me an envelope. Inside were documents. Real ones this time. A signed confession. A notarized statement about the forgery. Details of the accounts, transactions, and fake IDs. And instructions on how to use it all to clear my name. "I'll be gone by tomorrow," she said. "Disappear for good this time. You won't see me again." She stood up. And then, she paused. Turned back to me. "I know I can't undo what I did. But if there's any part of you that still remembers who we were before I broke it, I hope that part forgives me." Then she walked to the car. No tears. No drama. Just gone. And for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel anger. I felt free. In the weeks that followed, I filed the documents. Contacted legal aid. The forged mortgage transfer was reversed. My identity was restored. Investigators opened the sealed Arizona case again. Camille was issued a warrant. The house was returned to my name, then sold, for real this time. The money came to me. I didn't go back. I donated most of it. Started a small repair business by the lake. Nothing fancy, but enough. I even got a dog, a beagle mutt named Radio. He snores louder than I do. Some nights, I still wake up at 1:27 a.m., half expecting a call from some faceless stranger. But it doesn't come. Just silence, and peace, and the sound of my own breath, steady in the dark. I was erased, but I wrote myself back in. And I didn't just survive her. I found myself after her. And that's more than I ever thought I'd get.